Welcome back to the show, ladies and gentlemen. I have Dwayne Adams coming on the show today. This is a very humbling show. There's a lot of insight into this as he discusses mental health and suicide and how he dealt with this situation pertaining to not one, but two family members. This is a very humbling show. I don't really know what else to say. Take notes, sit back and listen, because he delivers some incredible insight in the most calm and peaceful manner.
So,
yeah, speaking of your dad, bro, you had told me a story about him and your brother, and that brought us to the subject of mental health. And we have been wanting to have this conversation for really about 90 days, if not longer, but we all been busy, man. So Leland, we just happened to talk yesterday and just chopped it up, put it on the books, man. I think I reached out to you on Facebook, or you liked something, and it was just spontaneous. And we was like, okay, let's do it right now. And then I see Lee, we leave in practice. I'm like, man, what time is it, Lee? I got to get to the house. I'm like, oh, you going to be at home? I got Dwayne coming on the show. Nick, go home right now, bro. and here we are. It happened just that quick. Yeah. So I want to get into this, man, about mental health. Okay. I want you to talk about suicide, the warning signs, how it affects families, and just tell me your story about, what you've been through and what you would like to share, Dwayne.
Sure. Okay, perfect. Let's start back with my father and my brother, and as I talk, I will give you I will say little things, and you'll understand how it truly affected me, and how I got to the point where I am in my life right now. So let's put it that way. Okay, Pops Lee, his name was Lee Edward Adams Sr. As far as a father goes, to me he was a good father, and a lot of people say he was a great father. He was always there. He always provided for his family, and he was always let's put it this way. You can say positive, but he was always constructive with his advice. Okay, and he was straight up. Like I said, this is a man who came not just to my games, he came to all my practices, and he came to my pickup game. If I'm playing on school ground, he would just pop up and watch me, and tell me, hey man, you need to work on this, you need to work on that. So he was really there. I mean, at that time, I always looked at him sometimes as being kind of overbearing, but now that I'm older, I realized that my father actually had a big heart. Okay, so my father at one point, he had a strong drinking habit, and his nickname was Johnny Walker Red, because he used to drink Johnny Walker Red straight. They said he'd do like 8 to 9 shots Red Label straight. Yeah, no, with no problem. And he was an aircraft mechanic at Delta Airlines, and my father used to always tell me, he said, now you might have seen me drunk, but you ain't never seen me drink, which is true. Yeah. And he got caught, I would say, he told me on 3 occasions, but when I went up there and checked, it was on 2 occasions. He got caught driving while he was drinking, of course, and he the third one he claimed that he had, because I still can't find it. It must have been in another county, but we did look in another county. We didn't see it. He got caught. It was March. Actually, I want to say it was around anywhere between January and March of '92. And my father, like I said, he was always strong, always responsible. He called me and he said, man, I need you to come to my house. I want to talk to you. I said, sure, Pop. So I go over there and I talked to him, and he told me, he said, look, I got caught driving under the influence. And he said, I think that I'm looking at some jail time. And I said, well, did you talk to a lawyer yet? He said, yeah, I'm going to go get a lawyer. He said, but I'm just going to tell you this now. He said, I'm not blaming nobody for this. This is my fault. That's what he said to me. And I said, okay. I said, well, look, Pops, I said, you always been strong. You seem to be kind of shaken up. I said, of course, I said, you would be shaken up because, this could be something serious. He said, yeah. He said, so just hang on tight. Okay. I said, okay, I will. So I kept going back every week. I go up there all the time. He didn't live too far from us, because my mom and himself, they were separated at the time. So I would go to the house, and each time I went, it seemed like he was just thinking more and more. At the time, I couldn't tell, but now when I look back, because I was young, it was depression. So he explained to me. He said, "Well, look, Dwayne, I need you to do some things for me." I said, "Okay, what's that?" And he, like I said, my father, he never impose anything on us, anything like that. It was always you being an individual, I being an individual. He didn't impede on anything I was trying to do. He was always, self-sufficient. He didn't need anybody. And he said, I need to put some stuff in your name just in case I go to jail. That's what he would tell me. I said, well, Pops, did you talk to your lawyer? He said, yeah, I talked to him. I said, did he mention jail time? He said, no, he didn't mention no jail time, Dwayne. I said, well, what are you worried about? He said, I was going to retire next year anyway. But he said, I just need to get your name on this just in case they put me in jail. Then I'm like, he going back and forth. He said he gonna go to jail. Then he said, so I wasn't really catching on. So I kept going over there every day. And he got real adamant about it, you know. And he said, hey, look, I need to get your name on this stuff. And I was like, well, Pops, I don't want none of your stuff. I want you to be all right because I'm not accustomed to seeing you this way. You always been strong. He would just give me this look. And his birthday is July the 24th. So he looked at me one day and he said, well, he looked at me like a couple weeks. I said, Pops, man, you got a birthday coming up. He said, yeah, but don't buy me nothing. He said, I don't want nothing. And I was like,
you had to know something was up then.
Yeah, so that's what I said. So what happened was I'm like, well, why you don't want it? He said, nah, I just don't want it. And I said, okay, maybe he's just still feeling bad. That's what I'm thinking. You know, he's not worried. I said, but Pops, you was going to retire next year anyway. So I said, just take the early retirement because all his bills are paid. He had A1 credit. Everything was paid. And I knew it because he started telling me. My father never spoke to me about his financial situation. I mean, he was just one of them old school guys that took care of his business and that was that. You know, I'm the father, you the son. That was it. So one day I popped up over there and the door was wide open. He was asleep. And I said, oh, no, this dude's sleeping because that wasn't him. You knew my father, Leland. He wasn't nothing like that.
Yep. Nah.
And I said, hey, man, the door open. He said, that's okay. That's okay. I said, what's going on? So I came in, started talking. And then I said, well, I'm going to go. And my little brother was 6 years old at the time because my little brother was born late in our lives. And I said, I'm going to go get Junior and I'm going to bring him over. So I brought Junior over there. We talked a little bit. I took him back home. Then when I came back, it was a woman. It was a lady over there. And who happened to be, I guess, the girl he was seeing at that point. And he got kind of nervous because I ain't never seen him with another woman. But even though him and my mom was separated. And he said, Dwayne, you remember you bought me this? It was a gold watch I had bought him when I was working at PG&E. And I said, yeah. And he was showing me all this jewelry and all this stuff. And I'm like, I said, hey, Pops. I took him in the room. I said, listen, I don't know this lady. I said, but you showing me everything. What's going on? He was like, nothing. So the lady, she said she was going to leave, so she left. And I sat down, and that's when it dawned on me. I said, Pops, I want to ask you a question. I want you to be honest with me. He said, sure. I said, are you suicidal? And he said, no, I'm not suicidal. That's what he said. So I trusted his word because he never lied to me. And he kept just saying, I got to get your name on this stuff. And I said, okay, I'll tell you what. We can do it once you talk to your lawyer. Again, if you need to hide something, that's no problem. But what I'm saying is, Pops, I said, I'm not accustomed to you being this way. And we would talk, and then he said, well, Dwayne, I've been strong all my life. You know, he said, I really don't have nobody I could talk to right now. And I said, well, Pops, that's the way you always been, though. So, and he kind of like looked at me strange when I said that, but it was the truth. But I guess he took it a different way. And I said, but listen, man, I said, if something happened to you, it's going to hurt me. Because I said, we love you. And when I said that, he just gave me this look, like, not like, what did you just, it was like, what did you just say, but in a surprise way. I said, yeah, Pops, we love you. We don't want nothing to happen to you. And he just looked at me. And then I was working full-time. I had just started being full-time at Federal Express because I was coming from part-time. I was a driver, so I was doing 12, 13-hour days. So this one day, I was going to work because I used to pass by his house on my way to work. And I used to work in Union City. And that's when I used to live in off 26 on Fruitvale. And I drove by and I looked up there and some go up there. So I went up there, went in the house, but he was gone. And I just had this feeling. I said, he gone. That's what I said to myself when I walked in. But he wasn't there. And it was ironic that when I was driving down 880, his girlfriend had lived in Union City. I'm going in Union City. He was going north, and I saw him on the freeway. That freaked me out. So there go my Pops right there. And so one day I woke up on a Sunday, and it was August the 21st, 1992. It was about 10. I'll never forget. It was running 11 something. I was getting dressed to go pick up Pat. You know Pat, Leland.
Yeah, I know. I was going
to go pick up Pat, and I'm getting dressed, and all of a sudden the phone rang, and my mama screamed, and I said, "Mama, what's wrong with you?" She said, "Lee dead," because that's my father's name, and I was just like stunned. And I said, "What you mean he dead?" She said, detective on the phone. So I went and I got the phone, and my little brother was sitting right there. And I picked up the phone and I said, hello, this is Dwayne. This is Lee Adams' son. He said, well, I got your father down here. Your father passed away. We found him in the house. I said, passed away? I said, would he have a heart attack or something? That's what I'm thinking because of all the stress. He said, no, he shot himself in the abdominal area.
Yeah, damn.
And I said, I just asked him that. But then, my mom didn't say your father dead. She said Lee killed himself. That's what she said, because my little brother was 6 years old. He was sitting right on the couch. And when I asked the detective, his name was Detective Mason, OPD. I'll never forget that. I said, do you need me to come down and can't claim my father's body? Or, what you need me to do? Because right then and there, I had to become a man. You know what I'm saying? I couldn't freak out because I got the 6-year-old there, which is my brother, which was my heart. That was my firstborn. That was like my son. And he said, well, no, we found him in his house and everything. He said, but the door is locked. I said, well, I got a spare key. He said, okay, you can go over there. I said, okay. And as soon as I hung up the phone, my little brother, he was 6. He just looked at me. He said, Dwayne. I said, yeah. He said, my daddy killed himself? That's what he said to me. And I said, no, Junior, that's not what happened. So I got dressed. I went over there to the house. And this is I went over to the house, opened the door. I was like, man, I don't feel like seeing no blood. I mean, because I'm already stunned. I'm just completely, I wasn't in denial. I was just stunned. So I drove up and I walked in the house and there was no blood, which was shocking to me. No, nothing in the house. And when I came in there, he had everything laid out as if he wanted me to find it. I could tell. And I went around, I looked, and the first thing I looked for was the safe that I had bought him that safe for his birthday, and I bought him a watch for his birthday, and it was a year apart. And I looked in the safe, I looked for his everything that he showed me, because I knew all the jewelry he had, because this guy made, and it's not to brag, my father at that time was making $59.88 an hour because he was an aircraft mechanic for Delta Airlines. So I went inside the jewelry box, and there was no jewelry, not one ring. His girlfriend was the one who found it.
So what you think he did with his jewelry?
Well, this is what he did do to me. He gave me a check, because I kind of left something out. He gave me a check about a month before he died. He said, look, I just want you to take this. If something happened to me, just hold on to this. That's what he kept telling me. I said, all right. And it was a $2,500 check.
Mm-hmm.
And he gave me the check and he said, I'm going to give you this address. He said, this is her address. I said, okay. I said, I'm just going to hold on to it, Pops, like you said. And when I went through the house, I went around, I looked, and then I went to the living room, and it was pictures. It was 2 pictures on the dinner table. I mean, on the dining table. And I said, well, maybe he was looking at pictures. I'm trying to sum all this up. It was the picture. And remember this what I'm telling y'all. It was a picture of him, how they found him. The police had left him there. And I picked him up, and I thought I was going to see some baby pictures, or maybe he was looking at when he was a kid or something. I didn't know. It was a Polaroid. And I looked at it, and it was him, how they found him. And I called the police because I had his number. And I said, hey, man, you guys left the pictures. And the police said, well, you can just throw them away. And I was like, throw them away. I said, man, I'm not going to throw this away. And I took an envelope, and I put it in the envelope. And I just held on to it.
So you still got his picture?
No, I'm going to tell you, that's why I want you to remember. I held on to that picture until 2017. And this is the funny part. It was the same envelope, the same picture. I would look at it every year. I just looked at it. And it might sound strange to you, but that was my strength, because I had something. I had to hold on to something.
Yeah.
And because me and him, we were close. And what I held on to, now that picture, I put it in the envelope, and no matter what, I had moved a few times. I got married. I had moved from where I had when I was a bachelor to when I got married. I kept the picture with me. And I can go back and look at the picture, and it really didn't bother me. It broke me down a couple of times, but for the most part, no. So that same envelope, this was strange. The envelope never turned brown. The picture never faded. So I put it in my safe. I took the safe that he had, that I had bought him, and I kept it in that safe. And that day, I said, the detective told me that the girlfriend found him. So I picked Pat up from San Leandro. We went to Union City. She didn't know I knew where she lived. So I said, his jewelry gone. If she found him, I said, something ain't right. So I went there and I walked up to her door. It was right off of Alvarado Niles Road on Medallion Street. And I knocked on the door, and she was in there laughing and joking with her family. I could hear her. So I knocked on the door, and Pat, you know him, he mad. You know, he like, what the hell? What they laughing about, man? She just found her boyfriend dead. He said, D, something ain't right. I said, just calm down, Pat, because I can't end up in no trouble. I got to bury my father, brother. And we knocked on the door. She opened the door. She turned white as a ghost. And I said, you remember me, right? That's exactly what I said to her. She said, yeah, I do. I said, could you tell me what happened? And I talked straight up to her. You know, I didn't disrespect her or anything. She said, you want to come in? I said, no, ma'am. I just like to know what happened. She said, Dwayne, I walked in the house, the TV was on, and I found him. She talked straight up to me. And then I said, well, I'm going to ask you this. She said, yes. And she was straight up until I asked her. I said, where's my father's jewelry? I didn't give her no chance. I just went straight at her. And she started stuttering. And I just looked at her. I said, let me explain something to you. Pat said, no, you ain't going to explain. I said, no, Pat, calm down. I got this. Because I said, we can't get in no trouble. And he was hot. I said, just go sit in the truck. I told her, I said, if you got his jewelry, we could call it even Steven. Just give me his jewelry and you get on with what you got to get on with your life. Just give me my father's jewelry. She said, Dwayne, I don't have it. If you want to, I can call the police and ask them what happened to his jewelry, but I don't have it. I said, okay, I'm going to ask you again. Could you give me my father's jewelry? And she said, I don't have it, but she couldn't look at me. So I knew she had it, but what could I do, right? So I said, okay. And I stepped away, got back in my truck. And because like I said, it was time for me to turn into a mature man. I had to think. Because I got a 6-year-old brother I got to raise. I got my son who was only 4 at the time. And I had to be responsible. I had to be around to bury my father, you know. So that's how that story went. And there was no investigation because my mom was still married to him. So she didn't investigate nothing. We just basically buried him.
Yeah, so it sounds like you think there was an element of foul play there?
No, I don't believe it was an element of foul play because of the way he was acting. And I did talk to the detective, and he told me, yeah, your father's fingerprint is on the gun. And he said, you're welcome to pick. He said, but I can't release it to you because you're not the spouse. You're the son, but your mom would have to come down here and request it. So I said, Mom, she said, no, I don't want to have nothing to do with it. Blah, blah, blah. That was the end of that. So I was kind of upset about that because I do believe he did it, but I wanted to have like some solid closure.
Right. You know, Dwayne, I wanted to ask you, one, I appreciate you sharing this story with our audience, man. Did you ever think, you know, you answered it, you go to the woman he was seeing at the time and they laughing and joking, that make me sound, it's kind of weird to me. You know what I mean?
No, it was. Right.
Yeah, so she was definitely ruled out.
Yeah, she was definitely ruled out because I mean, me and the detective, we talked, and I said, man, I said, I'm not, but I had to go behind my mom's back because of the fact that she didn't pursue it the way I felt that it should have been pursued. That's not saying anything bad about my mother. I'm just saying, you know, I was like, Mom, you got to pursue this a little bit more because maybe he did commit suicide, but where's his? How can this jewelry then just get up and just walk away?
But you can understand it too because they wasn't together, so you know.
Yes, she got to get something out of it.
Yeah, and it was probably like prolonging something that she probably wanted to put behind her anyway. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, you talking about my mom and my father? Yeah, absolutely. No, you hit it right on the nose. That's true, and that's the conclusion I had to come to because at one point I was very upset, and I'm like, I wasn't like so angry at my mom. Like, I don't want to never have anything to do with her. I just wanted her to pursue it a little bit more because I understood they had broke up and they wasn't together and they didn't get along. And I understand because now I'm divorced. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, I completely understood that. But my thing was that I said, well, Mama, I need my closure. But I said, I know he committed suicide. I do believe that. However, I think that we owe more to him because that was your husband, and that's my dad, and he was there for us.
That's right.
You know, y'all might not get along, so I said we need to close this out. But I think like Leland hit it right on the note. My mom, she she wanted, because me and her kind of got into it afterwards, because what happened was she moved. And I begged her not to. I said, Mama, don't move. She moved out of the state. She moved back to Louisiana. And that right there hurt me, because I wanted to help her raise my brother the way my father raised me.
Right.
Because my brother was only 6. I was 19. No, I'm not. I'm sorry. I wasn't 19. I was 19 when he was born. I'm sorry. I was 24, about to be 25 when my father passed away. My sister was 24.
Which that's a crazy segue that you know, that you just created, because you say your mom, she came, and didn't she come and she took him back to Louisiana with her, didn't she?
Right.
And then that kind of separated you and him for a long time.
Absolutely. And my brother was like my son.
Tell me this. Huh?
Yes, sir.
Do you think did you at that time, because of what your father went through and your brother was there, did you ever think that maybe that would have the same effect on your brother? Did you ever think that?
I didn't think that he would commit suicide, but I thought it was going to have an effect on him, because of the fact that when he was sitting there and my mama screamed it out, he asked, he said, Dwayne. I said, yeah. He said, my daddy killed himself? And he just looked around, and I was like, no, Junior. And I said to myself, I said, I knew it was going to have an effect on him, but I didn't think it was going to be the same thing. You know, I thought that he was going to probably have, like, he missed him, or, you know, go through a rebellious stage or something like that. And that's the farthest I thought on that. So, but that's why I wanted my mama to keep him here, because I wanted to, like I said, help her raise him the way I was raised.
Mm-hmm.
Because it kept me out of trouble. You know, I mean, I learned how to stand up for myself, because my father was a real man, and I knew how to stand up for myself growing up in the Dubs, right by Funktown. You know, everything that was jumping off in Oakland at the time, I knew how to handle myself, you know, and I wanted to give that to my brother. And see, this is the thing. My father was he was the man of the house, and that was that. But when my little brother was born, he softened up and gave me, you know, the rights. He was like, hey, man, that's your little brother. You chastise him, you teach him right, you cut his hair, just like, you know, he kind of like gave me some responsibility. You know, that made me feel good, because I was like, man, that's good, because I got my little brother. And I always wanted a little brother, but like I said, he was born when I was 19.
Right.
So, and you remember I used to bring him up to the games.
Right.
Him and Pops, they would sit up and watch the games and everything. And he got the same name as my father, and they was like identical twins. So I held on to him.
Right.
Because I said, well, I still got Lee Adams here, because that's who it was Lee Adams Jr. though.
Right.
So, you know, I missed a lot of his childhood, because I lived out here and he lived in Louisiana after my father passed away. So,
and it's like you said, it's like, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead. Ask your question. You fine.
Yeah, so it's like you said, it is like in certain aspects of it, you never got any closure. And then your brother being 6 at the time, it's like they got all these different counselors, licensed clinical social workers, you know, to deal with death and dying and grieving. And it's like, you know, it's like your mom just moved him off and he was there. You know, those impressions stayed with him for a long time. And nobody was there around him to help him with his feelings as a 6-year-old, because he heard it.
Absolutely. And see, had he been around me, I felt that he would have had someone that knew his dad, which was me, and which was my dad, and somebody he knew that he could love and trust. And this is big bro. So this is the closest thing I got to my father. So he would have grown into that and felt that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because your mom she was not about to deal with that whole emotional trip.
That's what it sounds like, Leland.
And it don't sound like she was going to let him deal with it either. So that was unfair.
Absolutely.
That was unfair. But I don't know whether she was thinking whether she was protecting him or what. You know what I'm saying? That's the question you got to ask her. So.
Right. So I was, and then the next thing that I was kind of upset about is that she sent my father back to Mississippi to be buried, and I definitely didn't want that. I wanted his body to stay here because I wanted to go to my father's grave when I wanted to.
Now, Wayne, why do you think she did that?
That I have no. She buried him next to his mama because he was very close to his mama.
All right,
okay, that makes sense.
That makes sense.
Yeah, right. Yeah, Leland. I was thinking what you were thinking. It almost sounded selfish or something.
Right.
You know, but that makes sense to be buried next to his mom. So I can certainly understand that. You know,
right. So that's, and like I said, man, me and my mom, we got a beautiful. I still love my mom. I mean, no, I never lost any love for her. I just wish things would have went different. But I mean, if that was the case, I could wish a whole bunch of things would have been different. I mean, it happened. You know what I'm saying? So I lost that time with my little brother, and I don't know what he went through. And then, I mean, when we get to that, because I don't want to get off too much of the subject, because we are talking about mental illness, and we're talking about mental health, and I'm here to kind of like give families what I really want to do is I want to be able to reach out to the families and recognize signs, because if you look at it, not purposely, but as a family, we somewhat failed both of them, two of them.
Wait, before you go any further, tell us what. Now let's tell our audience. Let's tell them a little bit about your brother, man, and then go up until
okay.
You know.
Okay, sure. I'll just go through real quick. So, like, my brother, I'll go back to visit my mom. So I went back to visit my mom one day. This was in '97, and my little brother, he was probably close to, let's say, let me see, it's like so he was like 11 or 12 years old, 12 or 13. So I went out there. We went out there, went to go visit him, and we were sitting at the dinner table. We were eating, and I was watching him. I hadn't seen him for a while, and he was eating, and he was looking straight, but it looked like he was looking. He looked like he was there, but he wasn't there. And I was looking at him. I'm like, oh man, something ain't right. It's like his eyes wasn't dilating or anything. He was just looking straight, but he was eating. And at the time, my wife was with me. I said, hey, did you see my little brother when he was eating? Did you see how he looked? And she said, no, maybe you just looking for stuff. I said, no, yeah, I am looking for stuff. That's my brother. And I said, but he didn't seem right to me. That just didn't seem right. And what happened was, we went outside, we played basketball. So me and him playing basketball, my mama called me in. She said, Dwayne, I want you to meet somebody, because some family had came over. They were in Louisiana. And I said, look, Junior, I'm going to go right inside. I'll be right back. He was mad. He was mad. And I said, look, come here, man. I grabbed him, and he just snatched away from me, but it didn't feel like regular strength. It felt like a man's strength. I mean, this was a 12-year-old dude that strong. So that right there, you know how they say sometimes with mental illness, the strength comes with it as well.
Right.
I started thinking stuff. I'm like, wow, that's strange how strong he was. I said, either he's strange, that strong, or I'm just that weak. I don't know what it is, but it was like some Superman strength. I looked. So when we got back, that always stayed on my mind, and we came back. So what happened was, let's fast forward. My brother, when he graduated from high school, he was doing well. He was in school. He moved up as a store manager at Lowe's within like months, because he was exceptionally smart. All them logos you see on my Facebook, those are old logos. I don't let them go, because he's the one who made them for me. Mm. He did all my waiver forms for my league and everything. He did all that for me. So he was smart, but then all of a sudden, he ended up getting married, and for what I understand, that one of the wife, she cheated on him, and he caught her. So I'm quite sure all this stuff had an effect on him. So anyway, he was normal, and then all of a sudden, he started going off. And like I said, he was in Louisiana at the time, or Texas. I'm sorry, because after the flood, they moved to Texas, when Katrina came out there, and he was working at Lowe's. He was working, and he was in school, and Delta was still paying for his education because he was under the age of 25. Uh-huh. And all of a sudden, he just quit. He told Delta, y'all take the money. I don't want the money. And he told me, so he called me, and his voice was like, he sounded just like my father. And he said, Dwayne. And I'm like, well, what's up, Junior? What you mean, what's up? I'm going to tell you what I want. Tell me where my father buried at, because I want to go to his grave. That's what he told me. And I said, well, he's buried up in Mississippi, and we'll call my older sister, and they'll tell you exactly where it's at. He's like, yeah, I need to go talk to him. And then I was like, well, to me, that was normal. you know, because I mean, he wanted to go say something to his father because he didn't get a chance to know him. So what happened was he was going back and forth. Then all of a sudden he lost his job. And I'm like, what's wrong with him? So he started, like, he was mad. He got angry at the whole, I mean, everybody. He was mad at everybody. Look, Dwayne, when you talk to me, do you know what's my favorite color? Do you know what I like to eat? But what was wrong with? Then he started going on. He was calling me, cussing me. He was calling me, talking in the third person. Like, he would call me, and I'm not making fun of him, he would call me and be a gangbanger. You know, he would tell me he was a blood and a Crip. And he was going to have somebody come kill me. I mean, he would just go off. And then what happened was my sister ended up moving back out here. My mom came back out here. They moved to Antioch. And then he came back out here. But we and him had made up. So I thought he was just going through his phase where I ain't your little brother no more. I'm a grown man. So I kind of like left him alone. So I drove up to Antioch, knocked on the door to my sister's house. And he opened the door, and I said, "What's up, bro?" And he just shook my hand and turned away and walked away. And I was like, "What's wrong with him?" So him and my sister got into an argument because he was getting into arguments with everybody, but I didn't take it as, because I wasn't around him, so I didn't take it as mental illness. I said, my mama called. She said, "Look, Tanya kicking Junior out. Can you go pick him up?" I said, "Where is he at?" She said he was at a hotel in Pittsburgh somewhere. So I went to this hotel and picked him up, and he kind of opened up to me. And I said, "Junior, what's going on, man?" He said, "Oh, man, nothing, man. I don't know why the world shitted on me." That's what he said to me. And I'm like, "Well, what are you talking about, Junior?" I said, he said, "Man, things ain't going right." I said, "Well, it's been like that for me, too." But my mom had a stroke, so he was taking care of her. So he had all this stress. There was a lot of stuff was coming on to him. So he said to me, he said, "Dwayne, I need to talk to you." And I said, "What's going on, Junior?" He said, "I don't think Pops killed himself." Now, granted, he don't remember nothing about my daddy, but now he's talking to me. I said, "Well, what do you mean by that?" He said, "I think Mama had him killed." That's what he told me. She said, first he said, "I think Mama killed him." Then he turned around and said, "I think Mama had him killed." And I said, "Well, why would you come up?" And then he looked at me and he got this real mean look on his face. But he would never step to me. He would talk crazy to me on the phone, but not in person. He said, I said, "Why are you looking at me like that?" He said, "Because you look just like her." That's what he said to me. And I said, "Yeah, and you look just like my daddy." You know, so I'm trying to throw it back at him. I'm kind of like trying to get some humor out of this. And then we was at El Pollo Loco in Pittsburgh off the side of the freeway, or if it's in Antioch, I can't remember which one. And he wouldn't eat. I'm like, "Why you won't eat?" He's like, "Man, I ain't hungry." I said, "All right, man." I said, "Look, bro," I said, "Seem like you real," that's what I asked him. I said, "You seem like you kind of depressed or something." I said, "Don't start drinking it like that." "Oh, man, you too late for that, Dwayne." So I ain't gonna even lie. I started smoking marijuana. And I said, "You started smoking marijuana?" And I thought because he was trying to be a rapper that he got turned out. You know, I said, "This dude thugging now." That's what I said. So he came to stay with me, and he stayed with me, and he got a call. He was going to live out here. They said that he had to take a test in Pittsburgh. I said, "Well, look, I live in San Leandro." And I said, "Listen, I got to go to work, but if you got to go take that test, you can't stay here because you don't know how to use transportation out here. You need to get to that test." I said, "This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to squash everything between you and Tanya, and I'm going to take you back, but I'll come back and get you." He's like, "All right, whatever." And he was mad at me from there. He thought I didn't want him around. But that was the depression, because when you depress, things are like 3 times heavier than what a regular person would take it, you know. But like I said, I didn't know he was going through all that. So all of a sudden he started moving. He was moving here, moving there. He was just calling me, going off, telling me he gonna have people kill me. He was talking crazy to the whole family, to my aunties, my uncles, everybody, because they went back to Louisiana and lived. So to make a long story short, he came back out here he met a girl online and he came back out here. But at that time, I thought he was on drugs because of the way he was acting. I said, "I don't want to have nothing to do with this dude. I can't," because I didn't know what was going on with him. Because he was cursing me out, going off. Because I didn't live with him, so I didn't know. All I know is I saw a change in him from a distance. So what happened was he came out here in February of 2017. And my mama, he was out here for months. He was calling her up, "Mama, I need some money." She's like, "I ain't got no money." FUB and this, that, and the other. Because my sister was telling me what he was saying. I'm like, "What's wrong with it?" I said, "Dude must be on drugs." I said, "Don't have him call me because I ain't got time for it no more." And what happened was, to make a long story short, they said, my mother called me. She said, Dwayne Jr. is at John George. Oh, no, she said he had a mental institute, but I didn't know where. So what you mean at a mental institute? She said he cut his wrist. I said, well, did you stop giving him money? She said, yeah. I said, well, that's why, Mama. This is what I'm thinking. Because I was saying he's a mama's boy. Something wrong with him. He on drugs. I don't know what's wrong with him. So then he got out the hospital. I guess and like maybe, let's say a month. He did that in May. In July the 3rd or July the 4th. No, July the 3rd that night, my sister called me. She said, Dwayne, Mama talking about Junior jumped off a bridge. I said, Tanya, I'm looking at the news right now. Ain't nobody jumped off no bridge. I said, she said, the girl called, but my mom, she had a stroke, so she don't really understand. So I Tanya, I said, I ain't heard nothing. So I said, I said, Tanya, that's probably the girl telling her that so she can get some money out of Mom. That's what I'm thinking. So the next day I'm at work. I step outside because I don't get a reception. My mom had left me a message. She said, Dwayne, I need you to call this nurse. I said, call the nurse for what? Who is it? She said, something happened to Junior. And I'm like, Mama, we ain't about to go. She said, Dwayne, just please call this lady. I said, sure. I called the lady, and she told me, she said, I got your brother here. And I said, what do you mean you got my brother there? She said, your brother jumped off the ledge at the BART station. And I said, are you kidding me? She said, no, I'm not kidding. I said, well, what happened? Because she said, first she told me it was Hayward, but it wasn't Hayward. It was Warm Springs, Fremont, the new BART station. It was about 60 feet up. And she said, he's on life support. And right then and there, I said, this is serious. And so I said, okay. I said, what happened? She said, he has massive brain swelling. His pelvis is broke. His thigh is broke. His hip is broke. His rib cage is messed up. She said, we're not worried about that. We can work on that. And she said something about his femur. She said, the brain is the situation. I said, okay. So now it's like deja vu again for me, because I'm like, this can't be true. And this happened in 2017. So the lady said, listen, this is what I want you to do. She said, I don't want you to come out here right now, because he was in Santa Clara's medical place. It's in San Jose, though. She said, I want you to hold on, and we're going to take, because he said, I think he has a chance to survival, but I don't want you to drive because you sound pretty upset, because I told her what I went through with my father. So they kept calling me, and I said, look, I'm going to come out there. She said, we're not getting any activity in the brain. She said, every time we take the thing out of his mouth, all he do is cough, but there's no activity in the brain. And right then and there, I said, he gone. That's what I said. So I said to her, I said, I'm going to come up there. And I said, I do not want to see my brother, because I couldn't do it. My father, I could. I went up there for his funeral, saw him dressed and everything. I had no problem. That was my father, because you always feel like your daddy going to be strong no matter what, life and death. But this was a baby to me. He was 31, but he was going to always be my baby brother. So I said, I can't look at him. I just couldn't. And she said, I understand this. She said, what do you want to do? I said, can you give him one more surgery? She said, sure, I can give him another surgery. But if he passes this surgery, I can assure you he will never be a part of this world. So then I had to make the decision, because there was no one here. I'm the only one that's out here. So I said, I'm going to have to let him go, because I couldn't let him live like that. And when I went to the hospital, they told me he was in 103. And I told him, I said, I do not want to see my brother. I can't do it. So I went in there, and I walked by the room 103, because he was in ICU. I walked by 103, and the door was halfway closed, and you could hear the whatever it is, the motor. I mean, not the motor. I'm sorry. The beeping sound. You know, the monitor. And he was already dead, because they told me they had said he was brain dead. So I walked in. I walked to the front desk, and I'm talking, and I'm waiting. They said, could you hold on for a second? We got somebody in front of you. I said, sure. I was there for like 7 minutes. And it was a room right behind the desk, but it was like 10 feet away. And it was like a glass, plexiglass little room. And there was a guy in there, and he looked like he was swole. It looked like he was a Caucasian guy, but he was kind of like a plum color. I was like, wow, I could tell that the guy wasn't fat. I could tell that he was swole. So I'm looking at him like, wow. Because I was in ICU, so that's what you see. But I could look at anybody else. I couldn't look at my brother. So I'm thinking he in 103. So the guy finally came to me. He said, sir, can I help you? I said, yes. I'm Dwayne Adams. I'm here for Lee Adams. He said, oh, yes, you're the brother. I said, yep. He said, okay, he's in room 110. I said, room 110? I thought you said he was in 103. He said, well, he's in room 110. You want to go in there and talk? I said, how can I look at my brother? I don't know what he looked like. They didn't tell me anything. And come to find out, that was him. That was in the back of the front desk that I was looking at the whole time.
Mm.
And I just broke down. And the guy told me, he said, I don't blame you. He said, because if my brother did that, I wouldn't want to see him either. He said, I know what happened to your father. I said, I'm going to walk up there and I'm just going to speak my piece. So I walked up there and I looked in there, and I had never seen anything like that. I used to do funeral homes when I had my linen business, but I had never seen anything like that because of this whole, and I'm sorry for being graphic, but it is what it is. He was completely swole. He looked like he was 300 pounds because he had hit the curve, and the concrete basically head first. And he was a different color. And I asked the lady, I said, what is that right by? Because it was a big old, it looked like a ball, like 4 or 5 balls. She said, I said, what is that right there? She said, I said, is that the machine that's like keeping him on life support? She said, no, sir, that is your brother's back and his ribs that came out on the side. And I just left. And they said, you want to go to, because I did volunteer to donate his organs. And they had to take me to the back of the room. And I said, can I have some time to myself? And I just sat in there. And I just took it all in because it was deja vu again. I'm like, I just lost another Lee. You know, I lost a guy that helped me, and I lost a guy I was supposed to be helping. So I was caught up in the middle. But I never knew that he had mental problems until afterwards. I had to do research on his Facebook, because he had got different Facebooks under different names, and he wouldn't tell us. And I found out about the Facebook, and I was able to get contacts off of there and our Facebook people, and they would tell me stuff that he was diagnosed 10 years prior with being schizophrenia and being bipolar, but he wouldn't take his medication.
Mm.
And his best friend, I never met him. He had finally got a chance to talk to him, and he told me everything. And I was like I said, I was blown, because had I known that, I could have approached it a different way. So that's the story right there in a nutshell. But the picture, remember I told you to remember about the picture?
Yep.
My little brother, when he came to stay with me, he was acting strange, but he was acting normal. He wanted to talk to me. He said, I want you to tell me what happened to my father. I thought they already had told him. Nobody never told him.
She never told him. And yeah,
no, nobody never told him.
I could hear it in the story.
Yep. And I said, Junior, I said, he died. He said, no, Dwayne, I know something else happened. Could you please tell me? And I felt it was my, because he came off as being, a strong, responsible guy. So I said, all right, Junior, I'm going to sit down. I'm going to talk to you, and I'm going to tell you everything, because I thought that he had the right to know that, because that's his dad. And he said, I know you got the picture. He said, I want to look at the picture. And I said, well, Junior, I don't know if you, she said, man, I'm strong enough, man. This is me, big bro. He was functional, so he knew how to talk to me. It was like we had never lost, because I'm a pretty easy person to get along with. So when he came to me, he was okay. He was with big bro. So I said, all right, man, if you want to see this picture, I'll show it to you. I said, but he said, no, I want to see it. So he saw the picture, and that was it. And when he left, I said, he done seen the picture. I guess this is my reason for keeping the picture. When I took him back to my sister's house, when I came back home that night, I cut it up. That was the first time I never thought about cutting that picture up, but something told me to cut it up. And months later, my little brother was gone. So all of this was strange to me. All of it.
So it's almost like the picture gave him some kind of closure, Dwayne.
Yep, I believe so.
Because as a kid, he never saw him. He never saw him at the hospital or anything.
Yep.
And then he was moved away. And
Yep.
it seems like moms didn't, you know, massage it and help him deal with that.
Right.
You know, it like he kept a lot inside because nobody talked to him about it, and he just seemed okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I was telling, and I had said to myself, had he been with me, I would have eased it. I wouldn't have gave it to him all at once, but I would have eased it into him. I would have gave him memories. Hey man, this is what Pops used to do. This is what he used to say. I would have gave that to him. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's what he yearned for, because see, my mom moved to Louisiana with those that's her family.
Right.
But his family was me. That's all he had. I mean, he got my sister and all that, but they women. He needed to relate to a man.
What?
This.
So, you know, that's what I dealt with. So I was in the dark. I was in the dark the whole time.
Sorry about that, Wayne. Sorry about that.
No, it's all good. No problem.
So you felt like he was in the dark that whole time? You had no idea, like nothing from
I had no idea.
What Pops went through never led you on to think anything about little bro.
No, I thought that, because like I said, when as he was growing up, we would talk on the phone. You know, he was doing well, and then I started studying, and like I said, I didn't see any symptoms because I wasn't with him. But when he would see me in person, he didn't act like that. He would talk to me. He would get information out. He would talk to me. But then when he went back to Louisiana, when he would be on the phone, he would call me, and he'd be rough about it. You know, he wouldn't say nothing about. He would always say, he'll say stuff to me like, I said, boy, you sound just like Pops, because he had the same voice. And he would say, yeah, you know, I talked to him last night. He would say stuff like that. But I felt that was kind of normal because of the fact that he had never had a relationship with him. He didn't know his father. So I said, that's nobody. It was the strange part about it is that he said, you know, I talked to him last night, and then he'll give me a little laugh. So that part would bother me, but then I would talk to him the next day and he was all right with it. So like I said, had I known, I would approach the situation different. But then the flip side of that is that after he died, I really went into studying about mental illness. I found out he was mentally ill. Because from what the lady, she was nice enough, the woman that was there at the bar station, that wasn't his first attempt. See, I didn't know all this because he was out here. He was living in a halfway shelter. And he told him he had no family. And he went to the bar station. The same lady, she encountered him 3 times at 3 different stations trying to commit suicide. She told me the first time.
Oh, he was trying to do the tracks then?
Yeah, she said she was watching him, and he sat on like the bench on the side of the bar station where the tracks is, and took his phone out and his wallet out and put it on the bench. And she walked up to him and said, sir, you know, you just put your wallet and telephone there. These people around here steal it. And he like, I ain't worried about it. I'm thinking about jumping in front of the train. And she sat down, she talked to him, and she talked him out of it. And she said they cried together. And she said, don't you got family? He said, I ain't got no family. He said, my mom abandoned me. I don't have any family. And then they said that was in Hayward. Then they said they saw him at Fremont, because there's 2 Fremont stations, one off of Paseo Padre and one off of Warm Springs Boulevard. And he said he put his leg up and they grabbed him. And I think the police took him to the shelter and talked to him. And then the 3rd time, she said he walked up. He said, ma'am, can I use the restroom? And she said, yeah. She said, you don't remember me? He said, no. And he walked into the bathroom. He was in there for like 30 minutes. And he came out. He took off his backpack and made sure she saw him take off the backpack. And he just dived over. Like they said, it was like a bird. It wasn't like he struggled or nothing. He just jumped straight over.
Wow.
Yeah. And you know how the grass has a curve and then the concrete, his head landed on the curve. And it landed on the curve, and his body was one way, and his head was another way. So the head injuries is what killed him.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, so that's the story in a nutshell right there, as far as that.
Wayne, I was going to ask you, bro, and again, I really appreciate you sharing this story with our audience.
Thank you.
You know, do you ever think that there was something because, you know, his dad was already gone. He goes back to Louisiana with the mom, her side of the family.
Right.
They divorced, and you know how family members could be. And then on top of that, you 6, 7, 8, 9,
they were separated.
10. Yeah. And then, but you growing up without your dad. Where your dad at?
Right.
He's gone, or he's dead, or nobody's talking about it. You
right.
know, as a kid, the stress of it, you know, the anxiety that you get. And then especially if he grew up playing sports. Dad ain't never at the game.
He was a hell of an athlete too. Yep. And he was a hell of an athlete. They finally told me, you know, they said he was dunking in like 10th grade. He was a little bit shorter than me. He was like, I'm like 6'2", he was like 6'1.5", but he was more muscular than me. And it was a lot of things. Now people say maybe your father had a mental illness and it passed down to him. I mean, I don't know, but when I started studying it, they was also saying how a loss of a parent, having to take care of another parent, because that's what he had to do, because my mother had a stroke.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I was telling him, and I told him, I said, look, Junior, I said, if you can go to college and you can move on, you do it. You can always come back and help out Mom. I said, we can help out Mom, but she just got to move out here with me. And because my mom, she ain't gonna get along with me because I'm just like my father.
Right.
I'm gonna have her exercise and I'm gonna have her doing right, and she probably didn't want to deal with that no more. You know, so and I think that played a trick. That played something in his head. I mean, and like I said, you know, he by himself. You don't know what went through his head. You don't know. And
right.
he probably felt like. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it almost like the ambivalence is there. Like he want to go out and go to college and explore the world, but then you got the guilt. You living with this guilt.
Yes, sir. And I talked to him about it. I mean, if he was here today, he would tell you. And I'm not trying to toot my horn and say, oh, I was such a good big brother. I'm talking about I deal with logics. And I was telling him, I sat down and talked to my mama. I said, Mama, listen, you had that stroke. You need to exercise. I said, what you need to do is get yourself better, and maybe you should come move out here. I said, you got to have 24-hour care. I said, it's kind of lesson right on the corner of my house because I'm at work. I got to make it out here in California. Don't have a job and live out here and see what happens. You know, you got to have some type of hustle. So I said, well, Mama, you could, because she had insurance because of my father's job. So I said, you need to let him go. I told her that. And I'm not saying she didn't let him go. I don't know what happened, but he, like you said, he probably was in a bunch of battles within himself. What do I do? You know?
Hello?
Do I leave my mom and go ahead and get my education? Or do I say, and then he had a few offers with basketball and he had a few offers with Priority Records when he was rapping.
Hello?
I'll send you some links. And he didn't take them. So that's why he was talking about the world shitted on him and all this and all that. I think he felt cheated.
Yeah, when you think about like he dreaming, like we all do when we're young. And you know, like you can't even go after the dream now.
Absolutely.
So like it was like he was living in some type of internal anguish, prison.
Absolutely.
Inside of his mind.
That's why it was coming out the way it was. Y'all know, you guys know what my favorite color is? You know, but like I said, if I'd have known it was mental illness, I could have approached it different. I'm thinking, this dude's just acting out. Then when he told me I'm drinking now and I'm smoking marijuana, and then I'm affiliating with, he done got in the rap game, I said, this dude done got turned out. This is the way I'm thinking because, like I said, it's the distance. So that's it right there in a nutshell, how things went down. And like I said, what blew me away was that this wasn't my first one.
Right.
And for me, I felt like a failure myself because I'm like, I didn't see no signs for either. I said I was there for my father, but I found a note when my father passed away that he had wrote to his doctor, because I guess he went to see a psychiatrist or see his doctor, and he had said that he had no willpower to live anymore. The only thing that was keeping him afloat was the fact that he had an older son that would come over and talk to him. and that was me.
Wow.
But he said he had no willpower, and he felt that his life was going to end soon. But I didn't find that letter till after he passed away. When I went into his safe or in his house and found all this, cleaned out his house, I found the letter. So, like I said, it really took me down. This one, I was a little bit more. I had been through it before, and I'm a little bit older. But what hurt so bad was the fact that to me he was just a baby.
Yeah.
And then I started to feel it. I started really feeling it. I mean, like, I thought I was going to I'll be honest with you, I thought I was going to have a breakdown. And I worked. I didn't take no days off. I've been working 7 days since 2017. Right before he passed away, I had started working 7 days a week up at my job, which I don't have no problem with. But I woke up one morning. It was about 3:15 in the morning. I woke up and I had no feelings. Like, no, emotionally, I was empty.
I bet you was. Shit.
I couldn't laugh. I couldn't cry. I couldn't get mad. I had no feelings. I was just like existing. And right then and there, that's when I knew I had to kind of like get a hold of myself. And what I did was, because when he passed away, I didn't get his remains back until a month later because I donated his organs. And I had to drive. I took off work. I took off of work, and I drove down to what is that city? Not El Cerrito, not San Pablo. It's the other one.
Emeryville?
I'll think of it. No, not Emeryville. It was past El Cerrito. It's right by the big cemetery in Richmond, but it's a little small town right there. It's called I always forget the name of it, but I know what it is. It's called not El Cerrito, but oh boy, I'll think of it. I drove there. It was a 50-mile trip. I drove from San Leandro to go pick up his remains because they said your brother's finished. And when they came out with the bag and that urn, that blew me away because I knew he was gone. I said, wow, I couldn't even give him a proper funeral because there was no family members out here. He didn't know anybody out here. And I couldn't have a funeral because of the fact that his body was destroyed. So I had him cremated. And when I picked up that urn and it was in a bag, that blew me away. So I picked him up.
What did your mom say about all this?
My mom was in the hospital at the time. She was in the hospital before he committed suicide. She was already sick because my mama, she keep getting sick. She comes up with like infections and stuff like that. I mean, because she had the stroke and her body's just not. She didn't exercise after she had the stroke, so her body's just like, I hate to say, it's kind of like deteriorating.
Is mom still living, Dwayne?
Yeah, she's still living. She in Texas, and she stayed. Me and her, we just talked every day. You know, I try to keep her spirits up. And I felt so bad for her because I was like, she can't even say goodbye to her son.
Yeah, damn.
Cause that was her baby. So I'm the only one that's out here. So I had to do all the decision making. I had to go down there and take care of all the paperwork. And like I said, to pick my little brother, the one I used to carry with me. When I used to have a Cadillac, I used to put him in the Cadillac and he'd go riding with me. And I had to go pick him up. So when I picked him up, I put him right in the front seat. And we drove all the way from, and I'm trying to remember the name of the city. It's not San Leandro. It's not San Pablo. It's right by San Pablo. It's not Crockett, but it's a little city right here. It was about 50 miles. I drove all the way from there to Fremont to take him to the cemetery. And I'm the one that put him in this ditch. I put him in the wall myself personally. I had to do it. And it just, like I said, to see my little brother, not to see him, but knowing he was in that urn and in that bag, that blew me away. And I would say that I recovered pretty fast, but I would say that this year, or the last 5 months, I've gotten a lot better. Because I would have my days where I'm not being moody or anything like that. I don't want to be bothered with nobody.
No, you didn't feel any signs of like, not wanting to be around and stuff. You don't feel like that, do you?
When my father first did it, I had those feelings, but I wouldn't say that they were. I didn't say I was going to take my life. I was going to take my life because I don't feel that I could do that. You know, I don't feel that I could do that. I don't feel suicidal. What I felt was like, man, am I going to die? You know, I thought about how would it be if I died. That's as far as it went. At one point, I was like, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't even be here. But I didn't see myself going through it. So I had to like snap out of that as well myself and say, don't think like that. You know, you got to keep moving on. And I did get concerned after my brother passed away, because like I said, that was the second one. So I felt the sting on that one. But I never got any counseling from my father nor from my brother, because I didn't feel that I needed. I felt that I was strong enough to get myself through it, because what I had to do, the way that I dealt with it, is exactly what I did. I just dealt with it. I got up every morning and I faced it. And I think what helped me out is that where my brother passed away at, I went there a few times. I went right where he jumped. I went right where he landed. And I think that I faced it head on, and I think I got it out of my system, and I got closure that way. And me being able to do a research on mental illness, reading on it and everything, they gave me some closure, and I started to put myself in these individual shoes. I mean, mental illness, the tough part about it is that a lot of people get misdiagnosed.
How does that happen?
Because it happens like this. A person, let's say, for example, they said that a lot of times the people who have mental illness, it comes out when they get in their later in their life, like when they between the ages of, I believe it's like 21 and 27. What happens is you got a person, they know something is wrong, but they can't control it, right? So you got your time where insanity, and when you have your time where you're sane. You go in, let's say, for example, you have an episode. They take you in. You go in. You're talking to a group counselor or a person that's going to help you get on some type of medication. Correct?
Right.
Now, you going in. You talking to a person who's been cussed out, who's probably scared for their life as well, because they're dealing with people that have mental illness all day. Okay, they want you in and out of there as soon as possible. I'm not saying that all think like that, but I'm saying that that's a big possibility, right? Then you coming in there, you don't even know this person. You might not tell them everything. You might say, well, I can't sleep. So what they're going to call that, that's called insomnia, right?
Correct.
Now, a lot of the symptoms are similar, but it's different. Like, you could be bipolar, you could be schizophrenia. People might think that they're both the same, but they're not. Like, say, for example, you might go in and they might say, okay, well, it sounds like you are bipolar, but you might be schizophrenia. So you're getting on some other type of meds. So they're still not addressing the problem. When you're grown, if you don't commit a crime or whatever, if they take you in, they can hold you for 72 hours. Then if you're grown, they let you go. A lot of the facilities closed back in, I believe it was the late 80s, the early 90s, when Reagan was in office. That was in the 80s. They closed down a lot of the mental wards. So these people, they just right back on the street. So there's no way that they can, say, for example, if you got cancer, they can lay you down and say, okay, you got pancreatic cancer, you got cancer in the liver, you got cancer in the brain, you got cancer in the stomach. They can diagnose that, but they can't lay you down and say, okay, this is what you have. So a lot of people get misdiagnosed.
And they back on the streets dealing with the same problems.
And they back on the street and dealing with the same problems. And some of them don't take the meds.
Right.
Like my little
now
brother,
you got to deal with the thoughts. How do you deal with your thoughts?
Absolutely.
And then if you get prescribed the wrong meds, that could make what would you say, the depression or the anxiety worse.
Right. And then you start, then for what I understand, because my brother, he did take them from time to time. And I'm hearing from my sister that he would call back and say, I don't feel good. I don't feel right. But see, my mom, she would baby him. Well, baby, if you don't feel right, see, that's not what he needed. He needed somebody telling him, you need to take the meds. That's what you need to do. You know, so that was her baby. And that's all she saw. That's why I'm not blaming her. That's all she saw. That this is my baby. But that's not what he needed. He actually needed what I got when I was coming up. Because some guys, they get just beast up. Like, okay, I ain't got my dad around. They just beast up, and they might take the wrong road. But I think my brother was very, very. This is what the conclusion I came to. That young man was completely fragile.
Yeah, he needed help when he was 6. You know, he's fragile at that age.
Yeah, absolutely. He was real fragile. He was just, unfortunately, he just wasn't one of them ones that just pulled up his. He probably did the best that he could.
He was 6, man. He was a 6-year-old boy.
6. Yeah. Yeah. So when he got older.
Yeah, in some senses, he never grew up.
Right. He was still that 6-year-old kid. You know, even at 23, 25, 27, 28.
That's right. That's why it came out the way it did. See?
Yeah.
So the mental illness, that's what's tough about it, because if they could just lay you down and do a CAT scan or whatever and say, okay, this is what's wrong with you, man. You schizophrenia, so you need to take this meds. I mean, that would help out. But unfortunately, that disease is not made that way. So a lot of people get misdiagnosed. So, you know, and
I was going to ask you, Dwayne, you know, I mean, you sharing with us like 2 tremendous and traumatic experiences, and you've had a chance to do some research on mental health, definitely suicides in particular, and like being able to see the signs. So what would you say to, you know, like our sports parents or student athletes who might be going through something, they see signs, you know, what information could you give them if they're feeling a certain way? You know, because in the past I've interviewed a guy, you know, that felt that way, and then somebody talked him, you know, from, you know, getting in the car and putting a gun to his head, in which he had tried before, as far as running into the diesel truck or standing, you know, driving out into the middle of a 4-way rural intersection, and the diesel truck just stopped. You know,
so he got saved.
He got saved. Yeah. So what would you tell a student athlete? They've been dreaming about the NFL. Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, I'm listening to what you have to finish. I didn't want to butt in. I'm sorry,
this particular individual, you know, he had dreams of playing Major League Baseball. It didn't happen. You know, so life was over. You know, I'm sure there's some people that might feel a certain way, you know, when the NFL dream doesn't happen or the Division I experience doesn't happen, and they start feeling a certain way. And I'm sure there's stories that's been documented. We just don't hear about them. But what would you say to that individual who might be listening?
Okay, I'm going to say something to 2 individuals. I'm going to say something to the student athlete, which is a youth, and to the parent or to whoever the guardian of that kid. For the kids, for the one that's going through it, you're going to have to realize that when you're going through something, when you start feeling a certain way, you have to remember that that's the depression that's speaking to you. That's not who you are. It's not your core. If you could keep that in mind, that would, even though it's easier said than done, that will help you. The next step, I would say, is to not be ashamed or embarrassed to ask for help. That's get rid of the pride. You ain't got to announce it to everybody else, because it is. Because if you go to someone and say, "Oh, I have cancer," that's more acceptable. But if you go to someone and say, "I got a mental problem," first people do, a lot of people do, not all, they're gonna jump back. "Oh man, this dude crazy." You know, that's the first thing people say. "This dude crazy." So if you need to reach out, and you need to go to people that you can trust, and that you know trust you and love you, and that you know that you love, and go to them and say, "Listen, this is the way that I'm feeling. I'm having a feeling." Because what I found out, I have had a chance to talk to some of the kids. You know, I work up there at juvenile hall, and I had a chance to talk to some other kids. It's in them. That's the strange part about it. It's in them. They have it in them where they don't have a problem. They really don't want to kill themselves. They don't have, to them, they have no other option, because the feeling is so heavy. So it's been in them for a long time. We just don't know it.
Yeah.
So that's the scary part about it, because there's some people like, man, I don't want to die, you know. But some people, they will take, they not necessarily just reckless. It's in them. They don't have a problem with it. So as an individual that's going through something, feel free to reach out, even if it's something little that you think oh, maybe I can handle it. No, because sometimes you think you control your mind, the mind controls you. Go speak to someone. Take that step. If you have to go make a doctor's appointment yourself, say, hey, look, I'm reaching out because I feel like I need help. Because I'm telling you, people, the one I had, it was a young lady I was speaking to. She told me, she said, I'm sorry about what happened to your brother, because I mentioned it to her and her eyes dropped. And I'm like, what's wrong? She said, I have those same thoughts. And I was completely shocked when she told me that. I'm like, are you serious? And she has the attitude where she seems to be kind of cold. But she don't go out her way to mess with nobody, but she just seems to be disconnected from other people from time to time. And she said it's just in us, and it is true. So they have it in them, and all they do is to take that one situation, and they can go all the way. So I would say to that person to go get some help, because we as the parent, or as like you guys, trainers and coaches, like myself, we're not a professional. Because, you know, if my brother would have came to me and said, hey, Dwayne, you know what, man, I'm going through something, my answers were wrong, even though I was trying to be right, because you think you answer, well, hey, look, when I was younger, I went through the same thing, but look at me now. You can't do that, because that is definitely a no-no. You can't say that.
You're right, because, you know, I was having a conversation with Leland about a few different kids that I've worked with in the past.
Right.
You know, I'm not going to say in the present.
Right.
And I was like, man, this is what this particular individual is going through. It's beyond the reach of sports mastery. They have to be working with a clinician. And I have referred kids to licensed clinical social workers due to the things that they would be going through at school, dealing with politics, race, religion, being teased, and being in an environment where other kids don't look like them. You know, and the help, it seems to be working, because they're good. You know, the individual is still in school and is still playing sports and still training. So, you know, it's the same as somebody having a basic injury. Do they need to stretch, or do they need to be a physical therapist? And it's our job is to know when to refer, like you was talking about.
Right. You should never try to play God, because it's not that you're doing it purposely, but it can just mess up the situation that they have no one can trust. Even though you got their best interest, you're just not certified to speak. And so what you should do is say, well, hey, listen, this is what I think that maybe you should do. I could have you come to someone and just tell them, hey, I'll be there with you. But I think you'd be better off, because sometimes people, I'm not talking to nobody. I don't want to talk to nobody. I don't know who they are. They probably got their own. And you got to say, no, you should go and talk with them. And we'll probably make them feel more comfortable if you say something like, hey, I've had to go get some help before. So listen, it'd be better off if you talk to these individuals, and I'll be there for you and be there with you.
Right.
That's the way to handle it, because you might say something that just may trigger it. I mean, because they're sensitive. They're 3 to 4 times more sensitive than what we are when it comes to dealing with everyday problems.
Yeah, and I like what you said earlier about it's not them, it's their depression. So it's like we got to make them feel confident to speak up when they're feeling like, I don't want to be here anymore, because that's what they're thinking. I don't want to be here, so who can I go talk to? And it's really not them. That's the depression or the sickness speaking to them. You know, it might be 7 or 8, 9 voices in their head, but how can we narrow that down to 2? And that's what the clinicians and experts are for. You know, absolutely.
And if you say you're going to be there, you be there. And if you can't be there, you be honest with them. I can't be there, but I'll be there at this time. You know, I'll drop you off and I'll come back and pick you up, because I do have this other thing that I have to do. But, you know, your situation is very important to me, and I'll be there for you. So you have to reach out to them. And like, when you tell them that, they'll start having a little bit more confidence in the fact that, okay, somebody's here. Because like I said, what I've come across reading, I'm talking about a lot of research, they don't want to kill themselves, but they do. You see what I'm saying? But they feel that that's the only thing, because it's so painful. And you got to remember, this is not something that just came up last night. This is something they've been going through for a long period of time. Right. And I would also tell parents this, or coaches, or anything, talk to them. I tell parents all the time, talk to your kids. It's better to be over dramatic than not to be dramatic at all. Talk to them.
Overindulging.
Absolutely. Talk to them. Fine. Listen to your kid. Look at them. Straighten them up. Talk to them. You got to talk to them straight now too. You got to draw lines, but you got to talk to them, because some people, I don't want to push him away. No. What you mean? You are pushing him away, because you doing it with love. But when you go out into the world, ain't no love.
Right.
And what I mean is that everything continues to go. Tomorrow, if I don't go to work, and if I don't go the next day, don't call in, hey man, they gonna replace me. And that's just the way the world is. So that'd be my best suggestion, is that if you as an individual, whether you are a youth or an adult, if you feeling something, swallow your pride. Because like me, I never believed in going to doctors or anything. I made a deal with myself, not with anybody else. I made a deal with myself. Because, I just found out I had high blood pressure. I found that out, and I've been taking care of that. But I had a long time ago, you couldn't give me no pills. I'm like, man, I ain't taking no pills. I'll get rid of this the best way I can. Not now. No. After I lost my brother, my father, I started to see. I said, hey, man, you think you control your mind, or your mind end up controlling you? Go. If you have to, go get that help, because it's going to save you. Because what happens is the pain that you have, if you do commit suicide, you pass it right on to the people that's living.
Right. Dwayne, before we close out, what would you like to leave our audience with, man?
I would like to leave the audience and say this, is that when it comes down to it, what's truly important is us being whole as a human being. All the accolades you can accomplish, this, that, and the other, that's not really what it's about. I mean, that is what it's about. There's nothing wrong with going out and reaching your highest goal. But when you see a person out there with a mental illness, after this story, I'm quite sure you could probably look at them different. Not saying that you're not supposed to protect yourself, because there are some people out there that's vicious. But you can have some compassion, stay to yourself like you're supposed to, because like I said, things can come up, because there's people up here, they claim mental illness, they kill people for no reason. We've had it happen up here on a few occasions. You see it's going around now where everybody's shooting people up and everything. But my thing is that try to be whole as an individual. If you see someone that you love and you care about, that they're going through something, don't say to yourself, oh man, that person's just weak, that's their problem. You got to look at, you don't know what they've been through. You don't know what it is that they're going through. So a few friendly words, you ain't got to give people money and all your time, but a few friendly words might get a person through. So I mean, that's basically it. And if you need the help, I tell people who need the help, go get it. And the parents and the guardians of these individuals, talk to these kids, because it's a lot of stress trying to be a good athlete, trying to be a good student, the peer pressure from the world, and then the parents. We go through it too, trying to provide. You can only do so much.
You know what, man? Just hearing this and hearing you go through this, I don't know. When you first told me this, I felt like, out of anybody to go through this, the last person should have been you. But then now I think about it and I go, but I only think you're the only person that could have ever dealt with it and had this perspective on it like this.
I appreciate that, Lena. And you know where that comes from? That comes from the preparation I got from my father. I'm gonna tell you that right now. He prepared me for this, not knowing that I was gonna have to go through this. He told me a month before he passed away, when I told him I don't want nothing to happen to you. You know what he told me? He said, I'm gonna explain something to you now. We're a unit. We're a strong unit. If one fall, the other one got to stand strong. That's it. That's period. That's exactly what he said to me, and he meant that. And just to hear that from a person that I love and trust gave me the strength that I have right now. Because like I said, I have not gotten any type of professional help with it. I dealt with it.
Yeah,
when Dwayne,
because I would not to cut you off, but you had answered a question that I had prior, and I didn't want to interrupt you, so I went out because I was going to ask you what keeps you going, bro. What keeps you going, and you just, man, you know. Shit, if I was an emotional one, I'd be in tears right now.
I understand. Yeah, a lot of people, they tell me that, but that's what I do. I deal with it, and I dealt with it. And you know, my therapy is like talking about it right now, or when I talk to somebody else about it. They look at me like, I say, man, don't feel strange. I said, I'm just telling you, this is what happened.
You know, I kind of felt that when you was into this story, that this was kind of like therapy for you. You know what I'm saying?
Of course it is.
Like even right now, you know, it was a lot pent up inside of you that you needed to release. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, and it is, because I'm in a daily grind, and I'm in a daily grind. When you're in a daily grind, you think about it, but you got to keep going, because I know I have deadlines I got to meet. But sometimes I have to let it loose. You know, that's why I have no problem. I can go to a mall by myself, and people think that's strange. I can go to a movie by myself, but they don't understand. That's therapeutic for me. I need it.
And you might be grinding because you're just trying to forget about stuff. You know, you're just trying to cope. You know,
trying to cope. Exactly.
Yeah, I'm trying to cope, and I'm trying to get stuff done. You know, because I figure this. I have my goals that I have to keep. Because see, my father. And I don't want to take up all the time. I don't have no problem with me talking. But what I'm saying is that I felt this. This is where I looked at it. When I looked at my dad, when I look at my brother, I tell them, because of your death, I live. And that's what I say. I said, you guys are my strength, because you guys did something that a lot of people are not strong enough to do. And another thing is that I felt this. If my father wanted me to be down in the dumps, he'd have took me with him.